Welcome back to Week 7, Day 1 of the LPL and our final game of the night, which is Rogue Warriors versus FunPlus Phoenix. And it will be a very exciting matchup because FunPlus Phoenix, it doesn't matter who they're playing against, what day of the week it is, they're always going to deliver some hype action for us. And they will be facing down Rogue Warriors, so it seems like the final term exam has come up for them because they've had a bunch of great wins for them so far in the split. However, now they have to face Rogue Warriors, who have looked incredibly strong in the last couple of weeks.
I think they've had enough time to be able to understand what their mistakes are.
They've been cramming the last couple of days?
Yeah, a few cramp sessions, because a lot of the pressure's been on Pepper specifically, because his pathing has not been the best, but it's gotten a lot better. And so now he's going to be, I would say, a much stronger point of the team, along with Crisp. They've been working really well together in the early portions of the game. So finally, it seems like going up against Rogue Warriors, they should be prepared.
They should be, but you've just mentioned some names to me. You were just saying Pepper. Now he's facing down Flawless, who was your #1 jungler, Raz. So how's that matchup going to go?
Look, everybody thinks they're prepared, especially off of a few cram sessions, but you never really know how the test is going to be until you're onto the Rift. So immediately, I'll tell you how I feel like it's going to go. Rogue Warriors, specifically Flawless, gonna smash it. It's not gonna feel good. It's one of those biology lessons. You're like, oh no, I forgot about that. It was away in the beginning.
Where did this module come from?
Yeah, what happened? But no, ultimately, Rogue Warriors, we talk about their kind of scaling. They could pick up the Jinx kind of compositions, so that's cool for them. But Flawless, a lot of the times, is the focal point. So you have to really expect Rogue Warriors to base around, I would say, their compositions on him picking up Lee Sin, Jarvan, maybe Skarner. That's something he's gone towards a little bit more frequently.
Because I know today we were coming in and we were sat in our story meeting and I was like, well, are we just going to hold a eulogy for Flawless in the jungle now that Lee Sin is basically done at 8.4? Well, no, over the last couple of days, I think we've probably seen more Lee Sin than we have so far in the LPL. Yeah. It's just like, well, it's a ganking jungler, and what does well on 8.4? Ganks. So everyone's just picked up Lee Sin regardless.
And you just kind of hold on to your trinkets regardless. So later on in the game, you kind of lose out in your playmaking potential, but like once you get level 6, once you're continuing to move, you can still hold on to your trinkets a little more. So the playmaking still there, it's just limited.
Yeah, and then you look towards Rogue Warriors as like a team. It's like, well, how do they operate? SMLZ. Everyone looks at SMLZ, and it's basically the protect the AD carry composition. No matter what you look at it, no matter how you slice it. Our on 8.4 as well. So Doinby, I don't know what he's going to be building, but most likely it's going to be tank. I don't know what champion, but it will be tank, and then we'll see how that will go. And we know he can play other things, like he can go AP on Karma, he can just play the traditional carries in the mid lane, but I do expect Doinby to maybe dabble in some of that in 8.4.
That's why it seems like you never really know what you're going up against when it comes to Rogue Warriors, because both of their solo, or at least their solo lane and the mid lane and the bottom side of the map are just going to hold off. When you're like, all right, maybe they can just completely swap up and go Kassadin in this game. So they go straight into, not that tank Kassadin build, but the literal Lichbane Kassadin, where they just jump on top of your face. And you know, the Chinese broadcast, they have content running on team fights. They have a team fight content, so they kind of showcase that Jinx composition in that one team fight where he had 2% HP, but then he had like a massive shield coming out of Karma E, and you're like, well, okay, do we really want to give Karma away to Doinby again? And you can throw those bans at him, but I just do not feel like they're impactful when you go into the second phase of picks for him.
And then it's just trying to figure out how do you attack the composition, because as always we protect the AD carry compositions. You want to probably attack the AD carry, because if you kill them then all the damage is gone. But it's a question of whether FPX are going to be able to do so, because they have a crazy AD carry in the bottom lane. We call him the shotgun, it's LWX, and he will be flashing in. So there's a 50-50 chance that he comes out alive or SMLZ comes out alive.
Yeah, usually going towards his mid-range AD carries, immediately going in towards FPX. Gimgoon in the top lane, Pepper in the jungle, Bing rounding out the mid lane, and of course the bottom side of the map, LWX and Chris.
Yeah, we'll see what LWX has for us today, because as we said, he'd just like to get in there. On the opposite side, Rogue Warriors, Mouse in the top lane, Flawless in the jungle, Doinby in the mid, with SMLZ and Kahlua down in the bottom lane. And
Kahlua's definitely dabbled in a few mage supports, so I want to see what kind of the support picks are coming through, because down in Jingdong, they've played more Lulu, like they played more Janna. So I'm expecting Kahlua to perhaps do the same, just because they're a team that is going towards Ardent Sensors a lot more often, trying to build up their AD carry. That could work, especially now that Celestial Body is no longer in the meta. So if you're a tank you can be faced off against a more aggressive lane. That's why we see more Xayah and Rakan, for instance, that can just bully out the laning phase. So laning phase, a little bit more important. You might see a few mage supports.
Yeah, let's see what they have for us today. Most likely it's going to be another big AD carry in the bottom lane. Would love to see some more Jinx as well. That's going to be it from us. We're going to send it over to our casters to get us into match 1.
Thank you, guys. We are just about ready to get into Game 1 between FPX and Rogue Warriors. Right now, it is a very close set between how Rogue Warriors is trying to catch up to the top teams in the league. FPX, though, could be a team that gives them a run for their money, knowing how historically they are an early game aggressive team. They will skirmish, and if they find the opportunity to put SMLZ in the bin, that could be great.
I mean, this is an interesting matchup in an entire best-of-3 to break down as well, just based off the styles that you mentioned. If FPX are aggressive in the early game, if Rogue Warriors put a lot of focus towards their AD carry, can FPX have that early game? Can actually succeed in something that is still very hard to do? And the reason that it's hard to do is Rogue Warriors are so good at having an early game around their jungler and their mid laner working as a 2v2. We've spoken at length about this already, but mid-jungle duos are very important in 8.4, and it feels like Rogue Warriors actually just got buffed by the patch.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's going to be the case. We were talking about Flawless perhaps losing that Lee Sin. Well, he might be here to prove us wrong. And there was also a bit of conversation about that Karma as well.
I can confirm that Flawless has been playing Lee Sin in solo queue yesterday. He was playing against FLICKR, and we got to observe that fact. So it's not just him playing Lee Sin, of course, everyone is, but I can confirm that the Lee Sin god himself is still playing the champion.
Okay, so we will potentially see a chance for that. We were just hearing a little bit from the analyst desk about the likes of Karma for Doinby. We know that he does like to take these supportive-style mid laners. I know Pulse was joking about tanky-style mid laners. That's only when he plays big AP champions that he likes to go for the tanky build.
It is possible, however. If you don't know how Doinby actually got into the league back when he was with the original Chaogu roster, he played Nautilus mid lane and Maokai mid lane in his qualifications to that event. So note that, of course, if tanks come back into the meta, he will probably play the tanks. He's very good at them. But yes, he can also play the supportive champions like the Karma. He can play the carry champions like the Kassadin. He's super diverse, and I think most of that diversity actually comes around to what the jungler needs from him. And that's something that we'll also continue to explore as the draft happens, as to where they want to go with their jungle champions. Is it an Olaf or a Skarner? Something that a Karma will help a lot.
And now that we are on 8.4, we know that Sion can also be flexed down into the mid lane. So even more potential champions that Rogue Warriors can try to utilize. Of course, that being said, Bing is looking across from Doinby in this mid lane. He started to step up for the likes of FPX. You know, we talk about the 2v2. Is it going to be Pepper or is it going to be Bing that tries to turn that 2v2 in FPX's favor?
It has to be Bing in some way, right? Like, the question should not necessarily be who is it going to be, but can Bing step up to the plate? You know that Flawless will play aggressively with Doinby. They love to go together to places around the map. There's less vision in the early game, which is why fighting junglers are often seen. Zac and Sejuani are two of the best because they're tank brawlers. Then you can have damage supplied from the mid lane or the top lane as they rotate. Bing has been playing better, but he's also a reason as to why they lose often when FPX look like they're underperforming. And Pepper is very predictable in his aggression. He will go forwards and fight you. Bing needs to help him, and I think Galio's a must ban from Rogue Warriors, or pick, of course, to prevent him from getting that.
You're exactly right. That's where we've seen FPX see success, is when Bing is there to step up or sometimes even preempt Pepper in some of those skirmishes or 2v2s. Of course, that's getting into the mid-jungle. There's a huge conversation to be had about SMLZ and LWX, but I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that in a bit because we've now gotten into Champion Select, and would you look at that. Karma banned away from Doinby, Galio stricken away from Bing.
Yeah, honestly, none of that is a surprise. If you know either of these teams, you know they excel at those respective champions. You have to look past the Karma and the Galio now. The Sion banned by FPX, definitely a flex from Rogue Warriors, so I do respect that it's banned, even though they're on the blue side, and they could first pick that one for themselves.
Now, in addition to that, we see the Camille and Jarvan banned away. Of course, Camille, very strong top jungle champion, huge mobility for the likes of Pepper, but look at that, a very confident Rise first pick from Bing. I'm not sure if he's either trying to limit by picking away from Doinby, who has a Champion Ocean, or he's just taking something safe with Wave Clear and Roam.
Yeah, Doinby does play Rise, but I don't think the reason that they would lock that one down is to keep it away from Doinby. I do believe, as you mentioned, the roam capabilities of it, as well as lane control being possible with minion dematerializer, is something that makes Rise excel. But there's also the opposite side of that coin as Rogue Warriors lock in the Cassiopeia Dom of the exact opposite scenario. You can't have lane control when you have no HP, and we've already seen that Bing can be pressured in lane.
Well, now the heat is on. Can Bing hold himself together against the likes of Doinby, who we know to be a very talented mid laner? It would be quite exciting to see if he has a creative build for the Cassiopeia, or if he decides to just go for that standard lane pressure, knowing how he likes to, more often than not, take supportive champions and pair up with Flawless. So this is almost stepping into almost rookie-like territory for him, if he's able to make this work.
Yeah,
that said, though, we do have the Alistar now locked in for Kahlua, and with 5 seconds on the clock, FPX allow their timer to run nice and low and prioritize that mid-jungle.
Yeah, they certainly do. The Kha'Zix to be locked in second here by Pepper, for Pepper, and now they round that out with their AD carry. So support has not been locked in by FPX, and that is something that Rogue Warriors will most likely look to exploit in their next ban phase. And I'm not surprised that it's the jungler to be seen here, and I'm also not surprised it's an Olaf. However, Kha'Zix preemptively picked for that matchup, you would expect. When Olaf is a low health jungler, Kha'Zix can prey upon him.
Well, we've seen Pepper step up and invade quite successfully before. Will he be able to find Flawless, or will Flawless be able to play around the vision of FPX, especially with the lack of a Tracker's Knife, and get himself nice and strong so that he can affect the lanes? Now,
I love
Swain,
this ban.
I see the grin on your face.
I love the ban because it's Gimgoon, and he'll play it. You know, he's one of those guys that will play the Swain. He played the Malphite. He's got an Urgot there as well. He's a Kled main of old, so you know that he's going to bring out new champions, things that you may not be prepared for. The reason I like the ban is that Rogue Warriors most likely aren't prepared for it, and that means just don't deal with it.
And now we see also the Braum taken away from Crisp in the bottom lane. Very strong pick and great crowd control if you can stack it up. Tristana banned away from SMLZ. Seems almost as if they're trying to guide him towards that Kog'Maw, which is a huge champion.
Well, he's got more than just the Kog'Maw. Keep that in mind, of course. He does go the crit Kog'Maw. He can lock that one in. Of course, Caitlyn has advantages in different windows of time. Jinx is the other one that we have seen from SMLZ.
Yes.
You can't forget that. But he's going to go with something different here, Dom. He's completely changed it up.
Yeah, Jhin now locked in. And I already mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to be having to look in more depth at LWX versus SMLZ once we get into game. But Caitlyn versus Jhin in the bottom lane, not something that we've seen very common here in the LPL. Still, though, FPX are trying to round out. They're looking for Gimgoon and Crisp, top and support with their next round of picks. And the last one standing is going to be Mouse, opting to take counter pick now that he knows he's up against a Vladimir.
And they can't go towards the Braum here. The Tahm Kench has already been removed from FunPlus Phoenix, so the question will remain of, do they go something that is a tank like the Shen, perhaps take that one away from Mouse as well, the 2-for-1 if they want to put that down there, or do they go for something else? The tanks are always preferential right now.
Wow, Leona locked in. This is a hard committal composition for FPX. Leona, Kha'Zix, Caitlyn firing across the back line, and Rise to reposition. Very skirmish heavy, yeah.
Dangerous composition, especially if it gets ahead, and there's a lot of reliance, however, on that Leona. As we round out Rogue Warriors team composition, we've got ourselves the Cho'Gath. Not quite the Shen that I was perhaps anticipating, but I like the Cho'Gath a little bit more even, adding some extra damage from their tank line, and they have a lot of tanks, so getting some extra damage there is always a great thing.
And, of course, being able to take out the slightly less tanky FPX composition with the massive true damage from Feast. Always a great way to help put a damper on FPX.
We've also just seen Cho'Gath picked into Vladimir very often. Ray was the first to bring it about. He went towards the Grasp of the Undying, commits fully to healing in the build. And Cho'Gaths do primarily go towards that Keystone Rune. So we'll have to see where Mouse goes, how he wants to play this one out, and if it's going to be an aggressive Unsealed Spellbook Ignite type top laner. If he goes towards the much more standard now, you would say Grasp of the Undying.
Of course, keeping an eye on that matchup, Mouse versus Gimgoon. Huge player for the likes of FPX. He's really able to do so much when he's able to get ahead in that lane, but Cho'Gath is a champion that it's not very easy to do because he just gets that so much regeneration and lane control in that. But still, with our compositions all set up, FPX looks like they're hunting down skirmishes as they are wont to do, drafting themselves plenty of pick. And on the other side, Rogue Warriors, Jhin for the likes of SMLZ, not the traditional hyper carry. Is this still playing around him then?
It's not completely playing around him now. I do think they went for the Jhin for the laning phase. Jin's very good, starting with the Doran's Ring, of course. You can sustain against the Caitlyn, use spells to clear minions if need be, and last for a longer period of time in that lane. At the same time, I think Jin's actually been looked towards because they have an Olaf and a Cassiopeia through their mid-jungle duo. He doesn't need to put on the big carry pants, and Rogue Warriors don't need him to do that. Instead, he can pick a champion that absolutely can carry. Still a super strong champion if ahead, of course, but they've got so many options now that you can carry from. If Mouse gets ahead, he's going to be dangerous. If an Olaf gets rolling, he can do some serious work. And now they've just got 4 different potential places of threat where they can focus.
And now we have loaded onto the Rift. Game 1 between FPX and Rogue Warriors.
That was
one single person.
You call that coordination at its finest. I will admit that someone had to quickly throw in "I love you" before we got a chant out there. In case you didn't hear that one. I think that just threw everybody off. They're like, when do we chant if he's just chanting "I love you"? Like, where does it fit now?
Wait, which player did he love? I don't even know anymore. Well, I guess we should still say fighting. Okay, we're on the Rift. Composition's all set up. Defensive lines from the 2 teams. Olaf set to start top side, taking that standard undertow start. And looks like we're going to be seeing Pepper roam on down towards his red buff for a leash.
The first place we do have to look, as you mentioned, the leash, is which side of the map they will be starting on. The Kha'Zix, you would imagine, would actually want to go towards the bottom lane. If you're going to gank anywhere, you get a Leona, you get a Caitlyn rolling, very easy lane to gank for. Kha'Zix just needs to provide the damage. However, he can gank mid lane. He can't necessarily gank top lane, but if Mouse overextends, it's always a possibility. But the easiest option for him is to have started on the blue buff and map path down to bottom. But he'd be too low health, you would expect to get a gank off. And you compare that to an Olaf who wants to be low health. Well, they can't do that. They can't meet in these circumstances. So he's going to start with the fast leash on the opposite side of the map. But as you mentioned, so does Flawless. He doesn't go towards the low health red side start. He's going to do a full clear.
Now we can already see Pepper going buff to buff. Could be trying to time this with the Scuttle Crabs to look for a quick level 3 and invade into the jungle as Flawless. Like you said, going for that full clear. Could be a bit of a tempo advantage for Pepper. In the bottom lane, though, we do see the duos skirmishing. Kahlua trading some health with Crisp and LWX. SMLZ happy to do the same. Overheal giving him so much already.
I think we need to contextualize what you mean by a tempo advantage here as well, Dom. I don't think Pepper will have a strict tempo advantage by any means. He's going to have to go from blue to Gromp to Scuttle Crab to secure it. But during this time,
that's Ignite and the heal used by Kahlua in order to escape as a quick level 2 engage from Crisp trades favorably.
I'm trying to talk you two. Can you just calm down for 1 second? They're level 2 now, so everything should be okay in the bottom lane for the moment. But here we are, the junglers, they've met each other. The reason that they have met each other is Flawless has completely skipped the full clear. He's gone towards his red buff now and just solo camped, individual minion cleared as well to get it done quicker. And now he's going to be able to clear the rest of his jungle. The fact that they met in the middle is a big win for Olaf.
Kahlua with the knockback, hits Crisp under the turret. Snare is flashed out of this as Kahlua is forced to sidestep. SMLZ reloading.
And now we can talk about bottom lane. They're constantly fighting. Jhin has had some slight changes, of course, you can see it there. His ultimate damage has gone up just a little bit at level 11 and 16, but nevertheless, they're fighting at level 2.
Yeah, there's fighting all across the map. Doinby's got a lot here. Heal used by Bing to stay alive. He does not flash, but this is what we were talking about.
This is constant
Flawless
fighting.
Is going bottom. Undertow is going to land, and the snare, but they decide not to dive a turret.
You take that crowd control as a big win. Now, all right, can people just give me 30 seconds to actually talk about the state of the bottom lane, and we might be okay. The Alistar is picked to be a tank just like the Leona is, but Alistar can go both directions. Leona needs to go forwards, needs to be pretty aggressive, and needs to do it at level 1 to try and get an advantage over a Jhin Alistar specifically as well, because you have the Caitlyn. You want to get them under their turret losing CS. But SMLZ has been able to circumvent that very nicely, whilst his support hasn't, and did have to use some summoner spells. But we're at a point where you can go back to base. Kahlua can reset. He can actually come back with full health, some potions, maybe a control ward. SMLZ's committed to the fleet footwork, so he hasn't gone towards the Comet. Again, sustained, distancing himself from a Caitlyn who wants to be an auto-attack-based trader. And so they've got themselves through the hard part of that laning phase. The next difficult part comes at level 6, where Crisp can very easily just look at you and bring down the Wrath of the Sun.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, already we just saw some stats for SMLZ. It's no surprise to see him taking a safe route in this matchup, considering how important he has been for his team in the past. Massive damage per minute and damage per gold efficiency for his team. That said, it might take a bit of a backseat in this game on the likes of Jin just because of his overall numbers, but we'll have to see if he still can do some work as Doinby looks to be taking some big numbers on this Cassiopeia and is already stepping up to put some forward vision down here.
Yeah, moving deep to place a control ward. That ward will most likely die soon. They've just flashed in.
Oh, that's Hex Flash being used by Killua at LWX running in. Flawless drops the Predator. Undertow still hits, and LWX
Doinby's
is within
here.
prey range.
They are
Flawless
very ready to kill him.
Steps forward. Heal is used preemptively. Miasma. LWX flashes just as it comes down, but the hammer drops, and Flawless gets first blood.
Flawless definitely did not need to flash, but he wants that kill. They're committing themselves to the dive. They're going to go for Crisp here.
Crisp has no flash of his own. They quickly try to get up the Eclipse, tries to stall it out, but it's another easy kill. Doinby has one too.
Crisp attacks the one target that perhaps he could have tried, but can't even get the stun off. Killua plays it excellently, and Rogue Warriors will expertly get themselves 2 kills and set their bottom lane up to succeed. Whilst they don't get the gold for the kills, that goes to Doinby and Flawless. This is actually a best case scenario across the board. Kills for their jungler, kills for their mid laner, bottom lane getting an experience advantage. Doinby even returning to mid lane to catch the wave at the correct moment. They did this so incredibly well.
And I did just hear from our stats team backstage that the last time we saw a Jin professionally in the LPL, it was January 17th by Chocho of TOP. And in addition to that, we have not seen a Jin win a professional game in 2018 in any major region. Rogue Warriors could be trending onto something here, or at least trying to buck the trend if they manage to take this win.
I mean, they are always a team to try and pick up something new, something different, maybe get there before anyone else in the world does. They've always tried to be those innovators.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been through SMLZ, though they did try with the Jinx earlier in this year, so styles are shifting and times are changing.
Well, we've already seen the jungle duo head bottom to focus on SMLZ, and he's now got 2 assists, a quick Caulfield hammer.
But again, highlight goes towards the mid and the jungler for coming down there. The focus is still definitely on those two, and we speak towards how important they are. If those two are getting kills and they've unlocked the bot lane or given them a slight advantage, even just a couple of minions, even equalizing a lane against a Caitlyn Leona where they started so strong. Big win across the board for Rogue Warriors. And if top lane's going dead even, that's fantastic. The only other place that you'd be looking at is perhaps a point where a Vladimir can run away with it, as they have in the past.
Yeah. Mouse is doing just fine up top, keeping you in CS as Doinby picks himself up blue buff. Now they do know that Flawless was just on that side of the map. You can already see the Mia pings as he's got his red buff time. Pepper using this window along with the evolved Void Assault to sneak down bottom. He hasn't been spotted, but still, that safety from SMLZ and Killua, they are not taking any chances by stepping forward.
Yeah, it's actually not about being spotted here. The Kha'Zix was down there to try and stop an Olaf from ganking him. I think they're very concerned about the level of the Olaf. If he was 6, they could try and threaten the dive. Note there's no summoners. Pepper is actually come mid.
Flash snare. Doinby with no cleanse, but gets the stun onto Pepper. Blind. He's able to land it and prevent him from going in.
He actually won that trade, Doinby, so in a very good position. They now know where Pepper is. Predator was also procced here from Flawless. He was feeling a bit of aggression, but so FPX.
He steps back forward looking for Flawless, but the Predator gives him just a bit. Now Pepper still just playing around with this vision. Meanwhile, in the bottom, that's going to be a shot. SMLZ is on a trap. He's still going to be hit by it, and he's going to... Oh, is he still alive? There's no way! He's alive and gets the kill on the backside. Another one! SMLZ! You can't just do that.
That shouldn't be allowed. That should not. You can't just use your ultimate next to a Caitlyn with traps available and get out with 2 kills for nothing in a trade. That is disgusting. That should not happen. I feel bad for them.
Oh,
and we get to watch it again just because of how dirty it was.
Did he think he was playing Jinx or something? I mean, the execution?
All we saw was the ultimate when we came down here. So again, FPX do start by winning the trade, and I think SMLZ just sees a chance to go for Chris. But like, look where LWX is.
Misses 2 shots, steps on a trap, LWX goes in, and they still win the trade.
The timing on the flash from SMLZ was perfect. It did warrant a response flash from the Caitlyn to even have a chance, and he uses the Q as well just before he gets stunned in that small fraction of a second that he had free to secure the second kill.
Yeah.
LWX even missed his initial trap, so it wasn't the cleanest thing that you'd see from FPX on the other side, but ultimately, Rogue Warriors, they do work. Let's just say the health difference there was the fleet footwork.
Killua, you can see roaming up towards the mid lane, trying to look for Bing, but he's still got his flash. Oh, no, he doesn't. Sorry. He's still playing safe behind his turret. I actually learned a thing watching that replay there. SMLZ, you can buffer the dancing grenade animation. So as the stun came out, because he had already activated the ability, it had about like a 0.25-second animation, he was able to toss the grenade after the auto while being stunned.
There's also a small window, I believe, between Leona's E and Q where you can do like
Yes.
small things. You can't move, but
That's where the buffer came in as Doinby steps up onto Bing. The lack of flash I was talking about could punish him here. Are they going to go for the dive? Realm Warp. Oh, but he walks away. Pepper thinks of going in and then thinks better of it.
but he's still invisible. He's a ninja right now. This bug cannot be seen. Bing clearly looking aggressively, but doesn't have the flash, so it's on Pepper. That was an ultimate this time, wasn't it? Or did he turn invisible
No,
again?
he still got it there.
Right.
Flawless now finds him. They turn onto the Olaf. He presses the Ragnarok, loses the defensive stance, and runs away from the snare of
I
Bing.
think the most important part about that trade was Bing used his W first on an ulted Olaf. Like, just use your E, man. Maybe just press the E and threaten so that he can... well. Doesn't make a difference. He's alive. Doinby's going to clear the control ward that was so aptly used by Pepper earlier to remain invisible. And unfortunately, they only get the flash from that trade, but still, Pepper is playing well around vision, as a Kha'Zix needs to do.
He is. He's not able to do anything with it, though. Hasn't finished off his Warrior's enchantment just yet. Still no boots.
It's important that an Olaf doesn't have flash to find him in following fights. Of course, Olaf's biggest tool is now the undertow, the Q. You need to be able to constantly latch onto the target. Having flash was actually a very nice way to execute, and he doesn't have the Predator either at the moment, let alone having the ultimate. So Flawless's role in forthcoming fights, which is looking like he wants in the bottom lane, will be harder to execute, and that puts higher responsibility on Kahlua. Now, the flash is there for the Alistar, though.
Not seeing anything just yet, as he's just roaming around the map. Take a look at the vision on the map right now. There's hardly anything for FPX. This map is about as dark as can be. One behind the red buff, and a control ward up in the tri-bush placed by Gimgoon that was placed earlier. Scuttlecrab is now picked up by Flawless, and a ward in the mid lane is all that remains for FPX, so they are playing in the dark.
I will say, for what it's worth, the limited vision that FPX do have, I'm a big fan of the one that Gimgoon has placed, acknowledging that he's going to be pushing that lane, that he has control. He places a much more forward ward, but it does mean there's higher importance on either Bing or Pepper having one in the river, or Olaf can just walk through the river and get an easier gank off than you would ever want to happen. Sooner than rather than later, that is possible, however, as the Eye of the Watcher is there for Gimgoon, and he will have 4 wards very soon.
Once he completes that quest and opens that eye, it was going to be quite handy for him. Still, though, we saw Bing thinking of roaming towards bottom, but again, that vision we were talking about working out is there. He goes racing down bottom. He doesn't have flash, but he's landing undertow after undertow. Pepper joins the fight. That's the heal. Crisp goes in to try to buy some time as Gimgoon TP, so too does Mouse. It's all a melee in the front. The Rupture finds two. Crisp goes low and goes down. Hammer fall. Meanwhile, Bing teleporting in, tries to get in. Doinby racing in from behind. Snare onto the Kha'Zix. He flashes away, but LWX kites it out there looking for the dive now. Mouse is holding aggro quite happily, and here comes the sniper shots. One miss. Is it going to be two? He lands another, but doesn't get the execution. Meanwhile, Gimgoon will go down to try to keep his carries alive.
Yeah, Gimgoon dies. Most people are able to get it out from FPX with small amounts of health remaining, and Rogue Warriors do win the trade. They'll be able to siege and get this turret down, you would assume. The Ryze is going to try his best to hang around, maybe clear, but there's too many numbers here to deal with this. Ryze still no ultimate. We're going to look at Alistar's runes as well, because that dive was a very scary thing that Kahlua was able to kick off, especially when they got under the turret. Bing's hanging around. They actually really want SMLZ. They think he'll overstay for these minions.
He just might. Dancing Grenade does so much. Pepper's there too. That's going to get the slow, but he still has flash. And just walks it off, escorted by his team.
That was a lot of time wasted by Bing, unfortunately, for just a look at an opportunity, not even a kill. They won't have a very poor timing for mid lane, so he'll be okay. We get to watch the trade that happens bottom. Flawless does not have flash, of course, as we mentioned, so he's going to back away once it looks very dangerous. Gimgoon comes in, but he flashes onto a Pulverized, and then a Cho'Gath Q, and then they're all just having a very rough experience. Leona's straight away just going to die, and they continue to chase here. Bing has to use the ultimate just to get to the tri-bush, and he's left running away. Doinby is already here and follows it up with the attempt at the kills, and then the target selection switches to Gimgoon. SMLZ is merely making 3 people dance behind him as Gimgoon is just left to die.
Oh man, that's so difficult too. You can either choose to try to run away from the Jhin or sit under a turret and be dived by 3 people. Now we do see Flawless is starting this dragon here, and Pepper's on the other side of the map, so there is no chance for a steal unless Crisp has got the solar flare from the heavens. Nope. The odds are slim to none, and Slim is out of town.
The heavens can't actually reach that far across the pit as well, so they're out of range, unfortunately.
Though it is deceptively long. Yeah, that's Solar Flare. Now, LWX in the mid lane. He's lost his bottom tier 1. He's lost Mountain Dragon with his team, and now we can already see the Mia pings going down onto the likes of that Rift Herald, perhaps expecting Rogue Warriors to rotate, but they're keeping their duo bottom.
Yeah, it was a missing ping as well. The question mark came out from FPX. I think the biggest concern and something that you will notice, they didn't trade it. They weren't able to go over to it, so clearly, whilst the wards were cleared and the Drake was being done, they had to just concede. They couldn't trade, and that's usually worst case scenario for any team. It's not that they traded poorly, it's that they didn't trade at all, and suddenly Rogue Warriors can just go from objective to objective. Gimgoon has done the best thing he possibly can do, though. He's been very proactive, and he got the scuttle crack.
That when that's the best you can do, that doesn't always feel great.
Context is important.
Yes,
the best the top laner can do is not take the Herald.
Yeah,
unless he's an Urgot.
Prevent the enemy team from taking the Herald at this point. 6 kills to 0, 4,000 gold, and Mouse has started off the Herald. Look at that! The whole team of Rogue Warriors are here. What level of communication are these guys playing on? If they're moving as 15 minutes in, they've got the Jhin up top already prepping a wave. Gimgoon isn't even going to try. He's heading back to base. So he will have his teleport up as Pepper steps forward, thinking of a smite steal.
He also revealed himself for this, and even if he gets the steal, it's just a denial. There's no way that he'd be able to outsmite Mouse on the Cho'Gath, however. The only thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to trade. Bing has been down there for a long time, and they wanted to maybe even force a teleport. I feel like Rogue Warriors bring 5 people saying that if they try and react, we'll fight them anyway, and they just did not want to fight.
No teleport for Rogue Warriors means Bing gets to continue to push it in. The next wave is almost there. And poor Rise, man, he's working so hard. He's got to run across the map. He's got to pick up world runes.
Doesn't have a Rod of Ages at 16 minutes when usually it's 12.
And immediately, holy cow, there's nobody here to clear this wave. Rise is bottom. They see Caitlyn up top. The only person left is Gimgoon, Rift Herald. It might just break down this turret.
It might be a one hit off from the looks of it. Yeah, it's a couple of hits away. It's not going to secure it. The rest of Rogue Warriors don't commit themselves to taking down the turret as well. Doinby just uses it a little bit early. The rest of his team could have been here. I think he wanted to sneak it in because he had a wave crashing and he was hitting the turret himself, but it will go down regardless. Just a couple of seconds later.
Finally, the wave crashes in. Doinby skirmishing over Raptors while his team finishes off the turret. Already, you can see the pings as Rogue Warriors move like a tide of insects to the top lane. Killua is going to walk through the turret. Oh, LWX.
Where's an LWX to go? He was just seen on a Jhin trap.
It was nice to know ya. We'll see you on the other side.
And that's not even my jungler. That's an Olaf coming from my turret as well. 2 people just walk through as if he was able to flash the headbutt in the first place. So his flash isn't available. So he's just left to die. He was in the wrong place.
He was trying, yeah.
Let's just say he was not in the right
But
place.
that just speaks to the mobility that we're seeing out of Rogue Warriors. They're communicating on a higher level. They're moving across the map in a more coordinated fashion. And this is why we're looking at this team of misfits from huge names like EDG, like SMLZ was on OMG. And now they've found their home on Rogue Warriors, and they're doing so much better, though. We will finally see a turret trade for FPX.
Yeah, they'll get the one that Bing was able to set up a little bit earlier. The bottom lane of LWX and Crisp barely touched the tower, for what it's worth, and Caitlyn Leona lane. Now, both bottom laners are 0-3, and the scoreline is 0-7. Yes. If you're looking at it from FPX's perspective, and the bottom lane has been a big point of focus, whereas mid lane hasn't responded very quickly. Pepper's been hovering around mid lane quite often, and Gimgoon is stuck on an island because he's against the Cho'Gath. So the most important place that we said FPX should go is the place that Rogue Warriors did go, and they were successful.
Well, now we can see them looking for a play onto Mouse. Realm Warp, Flash, Snare, but there's not a lot of CC as he knocks up 2, gets a silence to stall some time. Here comes Chris. He flashes and gets out of the Solar Flare, but cannot escape the Zenith Blade. Shield of Daybreak. Here comes Doinby to try to save him, but poor Mouse. Ooh, he ate the cheese on that one.
Yeah, but let's just calm down for a second. Mouse died. The Cho'Gath, yeah, he's passed away finally, so well done to FPX. And let's just look at what was used to actually kill him in that situation.
Everything.
Leona ultimate, Leona ignite, Rise ultimate, Rise flash, Kha'Zix used his ultimate and his flash, and Gimgoon ended it with an ultimate at the end. All for just a Cho'Gath. Meanwhile, Rogue Warriors have set up vision, they've pushed in waves, and they've earned about, let's say, the same amount of gold. And FPX, by killing him, they get control of a lane where they already have the outer turret. So it wasn't really worth it, but they do get a kill, which feels a lot better for them. It's some kind of momentum. It's something that they can grasp at.
It's got to be the consolation prize at this point. We take the small wins here along with the big wins in the LPL. And FPX might just need that win to try to get themselves back into this game. Gimgoon with teleport heads back to the bottom lane as Killua is getting closer and closer to the likes of his banner of command. But now 40 seconds for Baron and 50 for Cloud Dragon.
And it's a Cloud Dragon. It's not a very important Drake. Of course, most of the focus will now be around the Baron, so this is where that vision dance starts to happen. But when you look at the minimap, you look at all the vision placed, most of it for FPX is around the Drake, so that's going to have to completely shift, which means the inside track, the control of the area, belongs to Rogue Warriors, and that is a fed Rogue Warriors with a Cassiopeia, Alistar, Olaf, Cho'Gath, Jhin that loves picking you off.
Yeah.
So now they've got to try and jump into the belly of the beast at a disadvantage.
Not only that, but the Righteous Glory also finished for Flawless. He is gonna go fast. Chilling Smite, I love that combination so much. Really fulfills the 18-wheeler semi-truck fantasy of League of Legends as Rogue Warriors are just turning onto the Baron on spawn. There's no way for FPX to get in there safely as they're going to be spotted out by wards. Already the Cassiopeia is doing damage. That's the Realm Warp to get them in. They just stand their ground. Here comes Mouse on the side. Pepper behind. Who's the target? Bing! He's on the side. Solar Flare locks down Doinby. Zanyas is going to try to stall this out as Chris joins in, but Bing is already dead. The flash slow from Doinby. Hemo playing on a lot of people, but is it going to be enough as Chris goes in and goes low? Doinby goes low, but is still alive. Gimgoon dies. Pepper with the sidestep, but has he got the fancy feet? He does. Dodges the vision and escapes with his life, but Baron is quickly turned upon by Rogue Warriors.
The only thing left for them is a no health Kha'Zix that cannot get to the pit, so FPX just have to concede the Baron after they lose the team fight. And honestly, we'll probably get a replay of that. That was the best case scenario as team fights go for FPX. The Vladimir ultimate connects to everybody. Yeah. They play it front to back. They try and get their damage off. Just, oh, okay, good night.
Oh, hey, SMLZ. How did he find it?
Rapid fire cannon crit for you.
All right, there you go. Now they've got Baron. Now Banner of Command has been finished by Killua. This siege is about to get real scary. Here's the replay, though, as Rogue Warriors step up onto the Baron. And Bing, poor guy, just tries to step forward for a little bit of harass, a little bit of poke. Immediately, Rogue Warriors move as a collective unit to break him down. And like you said, Gimgoon gets the Hemo Plague. Not enough to really finish off the fight, though. And with LWX zoned away, it's not enough.
No, it definitely wasn't enough. Gimgoon, again, you saw the ultimate from him, hits everybody. They played it out incredibly well for what it's worth in a losing situation, and from a situation where they were forced to run into the river blind as, again, team fights.
Bottom lane, Flawless goes in. He's managed to get one so far, though he does trade over his favorite mid laner. Pepper sidesteps, ducks into the brush. Oh, and then finally goes down. A double kill. Rogue Warriors are relentless with these kills.
You don't even get a chance to breathe, Dom. No chance to touch up your makeup. We're going to go straight into fights at the bottom lane, and they've broken it. They've got 2 people dead. The inhib should soon follow.
Oh, Meow is not a great time to hop into this because FPX are just having a terrible game in this as Rogue Warriors are pushing relentlessly. Finally, the banner minion has been cleared out in the mid lane. The tier 2 looks to still be standing, but the inhib is going down.
They're just pushing, though.
Just recall it.
They're probably just going to keep going towards the end, force it, try and get FPX back. Some kind of desperate team fight is needed to defend their base. We're 22 minutes into the game. That's how confident and how strong Rogue Warriors are feeling about themselves right now. This is an absolute shellacking.
It really is. 11,000 gold. Here's that pick again. Doinby steps up. Ooh, and gets one.
Oh, he's caught, but he's not actually caught because he's built tank. Don't forget that fact, of course. So he does die in the end. Pepper has to jump in, but that's a 3rd member joining the fray. And meanwhile, Flawless has been free hitting the entire time. Takes down 1, looks for the 2nd. Raz's tier list is proving that, look, Flawless is pretty good.
He knows how to play the League of Legends pretty good.
And he is super important for the team.
11 of the team's kills. Meanwhile, as is usual, SMLZ at 12 kill participation without a with 0 deaths, excuse me. The only deaths for Rogue Warriors have been the 1 4-man pick onto Mouse and a single overextension from Doinby. But even now, that's going to be tougher as he's completed his Archangels and transformed. Still, siege onto the top tier 2. Oh man, FPX are trying so hard.
Banner of Command has just been used in the middle lane as well. So with the bottom inhib broken, with 2 people dealing with what's happening in top lane, Rogue Warriors with an easy rotation straight to mid lane. Now they protect the puppy, or the modern day puppy. It's just a mechanical cannon instead.
Yeah, oh man, look at the shots SMLZ is firing. 4th bullet, rapid fire cannon, static shiv. And then he uses Yomus to step in for even more.
The beauty of compositions like what we're seeing from Rogue Warriors, the inhibitor's going to go down. They can rotate to top lane as well. As the modern day version of protecting a carry is also just a cannon minion.
Yeah.
And basically picking a Cassiopeia Jhin composition where you're like, man, both of those champions usually love to, work with someone else that does a lot of damage. They're okay together, but when they're both protecting a cannon,
Oh yeah. Reaction flash to get him out. Crisp is going to be punished for that as the shots in the feast are fired. Meanwhile, fourth bullet held on to, finally tags on the Bing, but steps up for the fourth bullet crit. Gimgoon goes in, look at the damage. Is it going to be enough? He's 1 versus 4. Lasagnas, SMLZ still alive, but the trap procs up. He heals up to top, and SMLZ survives. Meanwhile, Flawless died on the other side, but that is definitely a win for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, Flawless definitely overextends himself just a little bit while the Gimgoon is popping off. The Godgoon himself goes into the backline, and my god, if this was an even game, he would be 1v5 penta-killing them. But it's not. They've built tanky, they're far enough ahead that it just doesn't matter in the end, and he's left to die. It's one of those so close but so far situations for him where he feels robbed in this game with how he's playing.
Tragedy. It's not his time to shine. Doinby, ooh, no, SMLZ's there too, and Pepper just turns around. He's still thinking though. Okay, has he been able to get around
Red buff is the next step. SMLZ was low. We could maybe get hit. No, we can't. The red buff was instantly killed. All right, next push, next push.
He's still there. Okay, he's managed to find Doinby. He's spotted here. Doinby is right there and immediately turns it around. Doinby steps up and FLICKR flashes over the wall. Oh man, he should change his name from Pepper to Salt because he was not able to get anything, and he must be feeling terrible about how far he went for that.
It could just be Salt and Pepper because he's pushing his luck.
Okay,
he should not be in there at all.
Also
he tried to take a 1v1 but 3 levels down against the very tank Cassiopeia.
Look, if you're trying to outpun me, we'll bring up Freak and we'll get him to contribute to this conversation.
This a competition.
Dragon is now finished off by Rogue Warriors. They've taken 2 inhibs. Baron is up in 2 minutes. Like we said, a 12,000 gold lead. Holy cow. Rusty, I gotta be frank.
Hi, Frank.
I'm done. I'm throwing it down. That's
just say it,
down.
man.
Do FPX have any chance to get back into this? Is it the 5-man Hemo Plague plus Rise, huge arcane spell flux, and Caitlyn gets headshots on everybody?
We could show you a replay to answer that question for you, Dom. It was the last 2 times that Gimgoon did get a 5-man Hemo Plague and they still lost the fight. That's how far ahead Rogue Warriors currently are. They almost won the game at 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's how strong they were. And now they're just waiting for one more inhib. Supers are pushing in as well in each respective lane where the inhibs are gone. Now is a great time to slow the pace of the game down. They just need to respect their health buffs.
Tragically, no Ocean Dragon, so they're going to have to regenerate the old-fashioned way with their abilities. As Mouse zoning on the side brings another wave in. Super minions pushing bottom and mid, but Gimgoon pretty big. He's able to clear those waves out. Doinby steps up for the miasma, but the trap line and the static shiv from LWX is keeping this turret safe. Still, it's 40 seconds for Baron, and there is not a ward on that side of the map, but for the one through the pathway to blue buff.
I think that trap line is placed at the perfect distance as well. Jin's trying to rapid fire cannon the tower. You can see him edging up. He's like, can I just one hit? He's just out of range.
Just wants the one tap.
LWX is honestly positioned them incredibly well, considering whether that was intentional or not.
You think SMLZ is playing the CSGO build? He just wants the 1D? Get the one-shot headshot as there's going to be. Curtain call to zone away FPX and the Predator.
There's a gap. He can walk up now if he wants to hit it.
All right, Mouse has cleared out some of these. LWX steps forward. Well, Baron is back up. That wasn't the goal. They're going to try to hit Mouse on the way back. Now they see the zombie ward. Solar Flare on the 3. Realm Warp goes in, but nobody follows it. SMLZ split from his team, finds Bing. He's got him locked down. The follow-up. Bing with the mistake.
Yeah, Bing caught out of position once again. This is not the first time it's happened in just this game alone, and here they go.
Oh, there he goes! Ragnarok through the siege line, zones away FPX. That turret is going down. Miasma to lock down Pepper, but he makes it out alive, only to watch his inhib fall, not the Nexus just yet.
No, but they're going to go from the top lane, get those inhibs down, maybe corral some super minions in through the mid lane as well. They are looking for the end here.
SMLZ again steps up, dodges the Zenith Blade, but only just. Here comes those super minions who we're talking about. Already trapped being placed by LWX, but they've caught him, locked him down. Mouse with the Feast doesn't quite kill him on the fountain. He's still firing. Gimgoon in the back going against Doinby. Has he got enough to kill the Cassiopeia? He does indeed at the cost of his own life, but SMLZ is guarding the fountain, and Flawless is going to chase them away. Still, it's only a matter of time, but it looks like FPX are holding down.
SMLZ is the MVP right now. He needs to stay alive or they will not be able to win. That was the randomly owner ult that just missed a recall, I believe, from Mouse as well. So he's going to go back to base. Baron is alive, and Baron will be the reason that Rogue Warriors end the game in the coming minutes. So ultimately, they play it safer, given the fact that Doinby is dead.
Hard to believe it's only 29 minutes in, considering how accelerated Rogue Warriors have been playing this game. 13,300 gold, 30 minutes in. Nearly 4,000 gold per 10 minutes. Almost 400 plus per minute over their opponents. Baron easily going to be finished off. Mouse, has he got his feast? Oh, they're even going to be good guys and hand over that feast.
He'll get it down eventually. There we go.
He's looking for it.
Big does not. He's looking to use his ultimate to get vision, and the one time he takes it, he'll regret it. And the weirdest thing about Bing is immediately after not taking it, he finds a way to die as if he did.
Yeah.
So he's having a bad day. Unfortunately, on the Rift, the mid laner of FunPlus Phoenix, but Rogue Warriors on the opposite side. Everyone's doing very well.
They really are. Pick anyone down the line and we can compliment their play about this game one.
Maybe not doing B if I was to pick one of them.
No, he's still stepping up.
I don't know, I saw him flash ult in that last fight and hit nothing.
It's a zoning flash, all right? You do it to send a message. We know FPX is a team that suffers from emotional issues when they go down in game one. This is Doinby just pressing that wound.
I feel like I play enough mid lane to know when he's pressing wounds and when he's making mistakes, Dom,
Especially Doinby, holy cow.
I feel like in this instance it was just a bit of a whoopsies.
All right. I'm just looking out for Doinby. He's finished off his Rabadon's death cap. 4 items as he picks up blue buff and makes his way down to join up with the rest of his team. Final item buy for SMLZ. Oh, Infinity Edge. 3-0 and 13. Oh my goodness. Now a banner. Baron pushing up the mid lane. Thomas the tank. But FLICKR is all alone. Ragnarok, and he turns and runs. Meanwhile, Doinby joined in the duo. 2v4. Do they have what it takes? Killua racing in. They've already killed one.
Killua.
He gets the headbutt knockup. Pepper goes low and goes down. 3 versus 4. But Rogue Warriors have got enough. He's snared. Unbreakable Will prevents some damage. As Flawless kites away, but here's SMLZ. Mouse teleporting into the top lane as Flawless flashes for LWX. He's kiting it out. Flawless goes low, but is still alive. Finally dies to Kimgun on the back as they leave Killua to die. But the carries are up. The banner minion is still up. And though the inhib is still standing, it's only Kimgun.
Against the world right now. It's how this whole game has felt, Dom. It's a very good moment to capture that feeling. They have got the Baron. They should be able to end this game. And poor Kimgun.
Oh, no. Trying to fire the shots. Look at how much he's healing. Finally, they get it. And you've got to imagine Rogue Warriors are a riot of giggles right now because they finish off the Nexus and take game one in smashing fashion over FPX.
Yeah, they absolutely turned up to play today. As you can see, they are elated over that game one victory. Pure happiness.
He's got a bit of a grin on his face, and so often we talk about the emotional states of players, but Rogue Warriors are the kind of team where their emotions just seem to fit with each other. Doinby, the most emotional player in the league, good or bad. Look at that laugh. And right next to him, just to his left, SMLZ. Similarly emotional, but in such a controlled fashion. That was sarcasm.
The cool, calm and collected.
Exactly.
Stone-faced killer.
Yeah.
Yes, I was joking when I said he is elated. Of course, he definitely is.
Still.
It's just internal. You don't get to see it. But Doinby makes up for it with how happy he is. Rogue Warriors with a very good game one lead in the early game through their mid jungle specifically, being able to translate that to the bottom lane, working as a team afterwards, going from Drake to Herald as a 5-man unit, from Herald to top lane as a 5-man unit, making LWX and Crisp's days a living nightmare.
And now Rogue Warriors, they've got a reason to be spiraling that much. 8-2 right now in the standings. If they take this win, they'll put themselves at 9-2, chasing down Snake and Invictus Gaming as they are racing closer and closer to playoffs. That said, look at the damage LWX did at the end of that game. Nearly 22,000 to match SMLZ.
Yeah, he did a lot of damage. Of course, he's trying his best to kite away from a million tanks that are running at him, so that does inflate the stats a little bit. Kimgun also second in the damage on his team. Most of his damage was team fight based because he's not going to waste time hitting the Cho'Gath outside of the very early stages of laning phase. At the same time, I think Kimgun was the one beacon of hope for FPX, and I hope that he's able to continue that performance.
Yeah.
The rest of his team needs to shape up just that little bit more.
Yeah, Kimgun doing just Kimgun things, but now it's time for our analyst to break down that game one.
Thank you so much, Dom, and really just seeing a big difference between Rogue Warriors and pretty much everybody else in their group right now, and absolutely dominating performance from them in just 30 minutes, taking that first win. Now, let's start this one off talking about the champion selects, and specifically the picks coming out here from Rogue Warriors, because it does seem like they have very much adapted to this 8.4 patch. We were expecting, of course, them to play around the bottom side of the map, but we saw that somewhat flipped in this game.
Yeah, exactly, and it's mostly because of the domino effect of having Cassio and Olaf into the meta. So that a lot of that means there's no utility coming off the rest of the lineup. They even had Cho'Gath on the top side of the map. So they brought in Jhin Now, Jin has a pretty decent matchup into the Caitlyn just because of course, having the fleet footwork in lane. Going to be able to sustain and be able to farm up through Qs as well. So there are a lot of interesting kind of takes that Rogue Warriors had and how they're going to be able to play through laning phase and in the team fights and skirmishes as well. So I liked the Jin pick. We haven't seen it at all, of course, since like last year.
For a long time.
A long time. So, of course, welcome back and for your first victory.
Yeah, of 2018. First competitive victory for Jin in 2018. It goes to SMLZ. And of all the players to get it as well, because SMLZ is an absolute monster on the Rift. And even though the composition may not have been all focused around the Jin, it was more about the Jin setting up the team. We saw a lot of the focus in the game around the bottom lane because it is SMLZ.
Yeah, exactly. And so if that's going to be your primary point of engage in a lot of cases, along with the Alistar, just keep fighting. Play it along. This is hilarious, by the way, because you punt out the Caitlyn and you think you have the opportunity to throw out your ulti. Wait a second. That's another trap. Get out of there. I don't understand why he's just sitting there for it, but at least he makes up for it by still piecing out, has the ability to throw the W, and Killua has his back.
But you've got to feel, honestly, for the Caitlyn right there. Like, in that situation, you feel like you've killed the Jin, and maybe you can turn on the Alistar, and it turns into a double kill. Like, that's an absolute tilter.
That's 100%. 100% the tilter. That was a good opportunity for the FunPlus Phoenix to get a lead in that bottom side of the map, which would have meant so much for them. Didn't work out. So that just accelerates the itemizing from Jin. Can go towards the Youmuu's Ghostblade, immediately into Static Shiv, while in the meanwhile, Caitlyn still has to go through her long-winded build of Static Shiv, i.e. the same kind of process where she's going to take a long time to get her build for herself while immediately Jin is useful.
And that allowed Rogue Warriors to double down in the bottom lane, continue to send members down there and try and just knock that tower over and start getting the game rolling. That's what we saw right here.
And this is what the composition is for. Continue to throw axes, throw in the miasma, throw in as many abilities to allow Jin to constantly find yourself picks. This is just a pick composition. And if you find yourself a pretty good engage off of Alistar, that works well too. FPX are trying to run away, but in the process, if an axe is going to throw you 2 people down, that's going to blow a flash. They get an opportunity to get on the Caitlyn, it's going to blow a flash. So they got so many summoner spells from the enemy team just based off this. Of course, they get the Vladimir kill as well, that it sets up the next 5 to 6 minutes coming out of Rogue Warriors. They have the ability to press on towards the Rift Herald, look towards getting immediately towards the mid lane. They were just trying to goad the enemy team to go into a fight, recognizing that you don't have any summoner spells. If you choose the wrong fight, you're dead.
Exactly. The game was opened up from there, basically. They had a bunch of different objectives they were able to move towards. They moved towards the Herald, as you said, moved into the mid lane, knocked that over, got control over that side of the map, and that led them perfectly into being able to move towards the Baron and then be able to set up for that.
And if you have the vision control, if you move towards the Baron buff, if you have the Ashe, or in this case the Jin, just jump in. Of course, the Zhonya's perfectly allows Bing to get away from the W from Jin, but there's so much pick potential coming out of this team that they're able to follow up on this, and it's just a complete stomp from this point forward. So good vision control from Rogue Warriors, and they had a lot of, I'd say, control over Baron. They were kind of just baiting it a little bit because they knew that the enemy team had to come and face them. So that's the fight they were able to get off of it.
And you've got to feel for Gimgoon that he had multiple great fights coming out of him. Almost 5-man hero plays coming in every single fight and almost managed to stall the game for another 5-10 minutes. But in the end, it did go over to Rogue Warriors. And that was a lot on the back of SMLZ, who will be picking up our MVP on this one on his gym pick as well, no less.
Yeah, 100%. You come into the game sporting a Jin, and you just, like, if you're the enemy team, what are you even going to go up against him now? It feels like he has such a massive pool that he can showcase just about anything. You can tell the practice with this team going into scrims, they must have been incredibly, I would say, confident with the pick, confident with the composition. So going to game 2, you'll be a bit afraid about what they're going to be showcasing.
But this is very important growth coming out of Rogue Warriors. This is like, we're going to a new patch now. We were on 8.2 for the longest time in the LPL, and they're moving on to 8.4. Which teams are actually going to be able to adapt, especially those teams who had the early surge in the split? Will they continue to be good, or was this just an 8.2 thing? It seems with Rogue Warriors that they actually have more in the back pocket.
100%. We're talking about the mid lane mages. Cassio was great, but we already talked about the fact that you are losing utility just by going Olaf and Cassio. They didn't want to lose that much out of it, so now it seems like the adaptation is to be able to pick up the Jin and exploit it like that.
Yeah, now we're starting to see the big difference between Rogue Warriors and the rest of their group, including the Western Conference. For now, we are going to take a quick break before we get into the second game of this best of 3.